Imagine you wake up feeling like a cloud of gloom is hanging over your head. You can't pinpoint why, but you feel anxious, irritable, and just plain down. Normally, you'd blame your brain. You'd think there's a chemical imbalance in your gray matter, or maybe you just didn't get enough sleep. But what if I told you that the real reason for your bad mood isn't starting in your head at all? What if the true master of your happiness is actually sitting about 20 centimeters below your ribs, tucked away in your digestive system? For decades, we were taught that the brain was the undisputed king of our emotions, the place where all the magic chemicals like serotonin were manufactured. But recent earth-shattering discoveries in the field of microbiology and neurogastroenterology have revealed a shocking truth that is stunning the medical world. Your gut, yes, your intestines, actually produces about 95% of your body's total supply of serotonin. This isn't just a side effect of digestion. It is part of a complex, high-speed communication network known as the gut-brain axis, where your stomach is essentially texting your brain every second of the day, telling it how to feel, how to react, and even who to be. Today, we are diving deep into the hidden world of the enteric nervous system to show you why your gut is actually your second brain, and how what you eat might be the most powerful antidepressant you've ever had. To understand why this discovery is a total game-changer, we have to talk about serotonin. Scientists often call it the feel-good hormone because it stabilizes our mood, gives us feelings of well-being, and helps with sleep and digestion. For the longest time, the narrative in psychiatry was that if you were depressed or anxious, you just needed to fix the serotonin levels in your brain. But here is the massive secret that researchers have finally confirmed. Only a tiny fraction of your serotonin is actually made in your brain. The vast majority of it is created by specialized cells in your gut lining called enterochromaffin cells. Now you might think, okay, but surely that serotonin is just for helping move food along. Scientists used to think so too, but they've discovered that this gut-produced serotonin is part of a massive neural highway through the vagus nerve, which acts like a giant fiber optic cable connecting your organs. Your gut is constantly sending signals upward. In fact, there is more information traveling from your gut to your brain than there is traveling from your brain to your gut. Your stomach is the one doing the talking, and your brain is mostly just listening. But it gets even weirder. Your gut isn't just a collection of tubes and chemicals. It is home to a sprawling nervous system of its own, called the enteric nervous system. It contains over 500 million neurons. That is more neurons than you'll find in the spinal cord of a large dog. This enteric nervous system is so sophisticated that it can operate entirely on its own. If you were to physically disconnect the vagus nerve from the brain, the gut would continue to digest, contract, and manage its chemical production without missing a beat. This is the only part of the body that doesn't need the brain's permission to function. This is why scientists have officially dubbed it the second brain. It has its own logic, its own memory, and its own way of sensing the world. When you get butterflies in your stomach before a big presentation or a gut feeling that someone isn't trustworthy, that isn't just a metaphor. That is your second brain processing information and sending an emotional alert to your primary brain. Now let's talk about the real stars of the show. The microbiome. Inside your gut, there are trillions of bacteria, fungi, and viruses. There are more bacterial cells in your body than there are human cells. For a long time, we viewed these bacteria as invaders or just passive passengers. But we now know that these microbes are actually the ones pulling the strings of your mood. These bacteria are biological factories that produce neurotransmitters. Some types of gut bacteria produce GABA, a chemical that calms the nervous system and reduces anxiety. Others produce dopamine, the reward chemical. And some are specialized in triggering those cells in your gut to pump out serotonin. If your gut microbiome is out of balance, a condition called dysbiosis, your production of these feel-good chemicals drops off a cliff. This is why researchers are finding that many people diagnosed with mental health issues actually have a severely compromised gut flora. Your bad mood might literally be a cry for help from a starving population of bacteria. This discovery has birthed a brand new field of science called psychobiotics. Scientists are now testing specific strains of probiotics, live beneficial bacteria, not just to fix stomach aches, but to treat clinical depression and chronic anxiety. In some studies, giving patients a specific cocktail of GIGAID bacteria was just as effective as traditional medication in lowering stress levels and improving cognitive function. It's an incredible shift in how we view the human body. We are not just one single organism. We are a walking, talking ecosystem. If the ecosystem in your gut is thriving, your brain feels bright and resilient. If the ecosystem is polluted by poor diet, chronic stress, or overuse of antibiotics, the brain starts to flicker and dim. So how does the gut actually talk to the brain? It's not just through the vagus nerve. The gut-brain axis uses three different languages at once. The first is electrical, through those nerves we mentioned. The second is chemical, through the hormones and neurotransmitters like serotonin. And the third is immune. About 70 to 80% of your entire immune system is located in your gut. When your gut senses something wrong, like an allergen or a harmful toxin, it triggers an inflammatory response. This inflammation doesn't just stay in your gut. It travels through the bloodstream and can cross the blood-brain barrier. Chronic inflammation in the brain is now being linked to everything from brain fog and fatigue to severe mood disorders and even memory loss. Essentially, a leaky gut can lead to a leaky brain. If the lining of your intestines is damaged, bits of waste and toxins can seep into your system, causing your immune system to go into a frantic overdrive that eventually drags your mood down with it. One of the most fascinating aspects of this research is how it explains our cravings. Have you ever felt like you were possessed by a demon that absolutely had to have a sugary donut or a bag of salty chips? It turns out that might not be your own willpower failing. It might be your gut bacteria. Different species of bacteria thrive on different types of fuel. Some love sugar, some love fiber. These bacteria can actually manipulate your vagus nerve to send signals to your brain that change your taste preferences and trigger cravings for the foods they need to survive. They are essentially hacking your brain's reward system to get their fix. When you eat a healthy, diverse diet, you foster a diverse population of bacteria that all keep each other in check. But when you eat a lot of processed foods, you overfeed the sugar-loving bacteria, which then grow so powerful that they start dictating your choices. You aren't just what you eat. You are what your bacteria want you to eat. The secret of serotonin in the gut also explains why comfort food feels so good in the moment but so bad later. When you eat a big hit of simple carbohydrates, you trigger a massive release of serotonin in the gut. For a few minutes, you feel a wave of calm and satisfaction, but this is a spike followed by a crash. Over time, if you keep spiking your system this way, the receptors in your gut become desensitized. It's like a radio that you've turned up so loud for so long that the speakers eventually blow out. You need more and more junk food just to feel normal. Improving your mood isn't about the quick spikes, it's about the slow, steady production of serotonin that comes from feeding your bacteria the complex fibers and nutrients they need to work at a sustainable pace. This brings us to the importance of the vagus nerve. If the gut-brain axis is a highway, the vagus nerve is the pavement. Many of us living in 2026 have a weak vagus nerve due to chronic stress. When we are constantly in fight or flight mode, the body shuts down digestion to save energy. The highway gets blocked. This is why stress often leads to stomach knots or digestive issues, but it also works the other way. If we can manually stimulate the vagus nerve through deep breathing, cold water exposure, or even humming, on the physical level, we send a signal back to the gut saying, "The coast is clear, you can start making serotonin again." It is a two-way street that we can actually influence with our daily habits. Scientists are also discovering how this gut-centered serotonin affects our sleep. Melatonin, the hormone that tells your body it's time to sleep, is actually a metabolic byproduct of serotonin. If your gut isn't producing enough serotonin during the day, your brain won't have enough raw material to make melatonin at night. This is why people with digestive issues almost always struggle with insomnia or poor sleep quality. You can take all the melatonin supplements you want, but if the gut factory is broken, you're just putting a band-aid on a much larger problem. Healing the gut is often the hidden cure for chronic sleep problems. The medical community is also starting to look at how this second brain affects neurodegenerative conditions. There is staggering evidence that conditions like Parkinson's might actually start in the gut years before they show up in the brain. Researchers have found that the misfolded proteins associated with these conditions often appear in the enteric nervous system of the gut first, and then seem to travel up the vagus nerve like a slow-moving train until they reach the brain. This suggests that by the time someone shows neurological symptoms, the fire has been burning in their gut for a decade. This opens up an incredible window for early detection and prevention. If we can monitor the health of the second brain, we might be able to protect the primary brain before any lasting damage occurs. But why would nature design us this way? Why put so much brain power and chemical control in our digestive tract? Think about it from an evolutionary perspective. For millions of years, the most dangerous thing an animal did was eat. Is this plant poisonous? Is this meat spoiled? The gut had to be incredibly smart and incredibly fast to detect threats and react. It needed its own nervous system so it wouldn't have to wait for the brain to process the information. The gut was our brain, the one that ensured our basic survival. As we evolved more complex social behaviors, the cranial brain grew on top of that foundation. But the foundation, the gut, still holds the keys to our most basic sensations of safety, satisfaction, and well-being. This research also sheds light on the placebo effect and how our thoughts can affect our digestion. Because the connection is so tight, if you believe a food is going to make you sick, your brain can send a signal to the gut that actually triggers an inflammatory response. The mind can create a physical reality in the gut, and the gut can then send that signal back to the brain to confirm the fear. It's a loop that can either work for you or against you. This is why stress management and mindfulness are not just hippie concepts. They are vital tools for digestive and emotional health. If you eat while you are angry or rushed, your gut won't produce the right enzymes or the right amount of serotonin, regardless of how healthy the food is. So, what can we actually do with this information? In 2026, the most successful health protocols are moving away from restrictive dieting and toward microbiome nurturing. This means eating a wide variety of plants to feed as many different types of beneficial bacteria as possible. It means fermented foods like kimchi, sauerkraut, and kefir, which act like a refill for your gut's army of workers. And it means avoiding the microbe killers like excessive processed sugar, artificial sweeteners, and unnecessary antibiotics. Every time you eat, you are choosing which bacteria you are going to empower. You are essentially voting for your future mood. The secret of gut serotonin is also changing how we think about exercise. We know that exercise makes us feel better because of endorphins. But new research shows that movement also physically massages the gut and increases the diversity of the microbiome. A brisk walk actually helps your second brain stay fit and keeps the serotonin factory running smoothly. It is all connected in a beautiful, complex web. You cannot help one part of the system without helping the others. The future of medicine will likely involve mapping each individual's microbiome. Imagine going to the doctor not for a blood test, but for a gut scan that tells you exactly which bacteria you are missing to fix your specific type of anxiety or fatigue. We are moving toward a world where mental health is viewed as whole body health. The wall between the mind and the body is finally crumbling. We are realizing that the brain is not an island. It is part of a grand conversation that includes every centimeter of our digestive tract. This discovery is a humbling reminder of how little we actually know about ourselves. For a century, we thought we were the masters of our thoughts, only to find out that 1 trillion tiny bacteria in our bellies are the ones influence our choices. But it is also an empowering discovery. It means that we have a physical lever we can pull to change how we feel. We aren't just victims of our genetics or our circumstances. We can change our ecosystem. We can nourish our second brain. We can foster a gut environment that produces a literal fountain of feel-good chemicals every single day. When you feel that gut feeling, listen to it. Your enteric nervous system has been evolving for 500 million years to keep you safe and happy. It is a highly calibrated instrument that senses things your logical brain might miss. When you feel a sudden drop in your mood, don't just ask what's wrong with my life. Ask, how is my gut doing? Maybe you just need a bit of fiber, a probiotic, or a few deep breaths to get the highway moving again. The science is clear. The path to a happy head runs directly through your stomach. We are living in a revolutionary era where the secrets of the human body are being revealed at a staggering pace. The discovery that 95% of our serotonin is made in our gut is just the beginning. It is the key that unlocks a new understanding of depression, anxiety, sleep, and even personality. We are not just a mind in a jar. We are a vibrant, living, breathing ecosystem. So, the next time you sit down to a meal, remember that you aren't just eating for yourself. You are feeding 1 trillion tiny friends who, in exchange, will give you the serenity, the energy, and the happiness you need to conquer the day. Your gut is your second brain, and it is time we started treating it with the respect it deserves. Take care of your gut, and your gut will take care of your mind. The hidden connection is no longer a mystery. It is a roadmap to a better, brighter life. Stay curious, stay healthy, and trust your gut. It knows a lot more than you think.